Welcome to Mental Fitness, the Gateway to Success podcast, providing business owners, leaders, and entrepreneurs with the 3 INs: insights, inspirations, and intentional actions. Delivered through monologues and dialogues, we address topics like leadership, productivity, time management, work-life balance, and challenges like stress, conflict, mental health, and much more. Please do not hold back from suggesting specific topics and guests you would like on this podcast. Greetings and welcome to this episode. As you may know, if you follow me for a little while, every second week we have a guest on, and this is a guest week. And I feel very privileged to have John Shackleton here with me today. John and I met about 15 years ago. We were co-speakers at an event, so that's one thing we have in common. And then we have sporadically kept in touch over the decade and a half. And here we are having this conversation today. So welcome, John. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
To go back, I got a couple of degrees at university, one in engineering and one in education. And became a school teacher, but the love of my life is sport. And I was a competitive swimmer as a kid. I still am, actually. And so I became a swimming coach, working with competitive swimmers, international standard and stuff. And so that's really where my working life started. I was paying the bills as a school teacher, but the love of my life was coaching. And so what happened was that I got to be coaching the British triathlon team. In its early days of triathlon, there was no money in it. But one of the British teams said to me, "John, would you come and talk to us about the mental side of things?" Because I'd studied sports psychology, not that there was any such thing in the UK in those days, but I'd got various books and stuff from the States and studied sports psychology. And this triathlete said, "Would you come and talk to my sales team about what you've talked to us about?" And I looked down my nose at him and said, "Why would I do that?" And he said, "Because we'll pay you." And and I wasn't being paid to coach, well, not coach triathlon. I was being paid to coach swimming, but so I eventually started a training company, talking to managers and salesmen about the mental side of performance. And that grew and grew. It grew to be the biggest of its type in Europe, to be honest with you. And it was very, very successful. This is when I lived in the UK. And I eventually sort of sold all of that when I was, I think, 48. 49. I sold all of that, got really sick of all of the politics that went with all of that, and emigrated to New Zealand. And at that point, decided that I wanted to be a motivational speaker, not just running training courses, but go on stage for an hour and be a motivational speaker. And for some strange reason, with all the things I do, I seem to be about 3 or 4 years ahead of what the world is, or what the place in the world that I'm looking at, living in, is looking for. Because in New Zealand, when you say to somebody in those days, 25 years ago, you say to somebody you're a motivational speaker, and they say, "Well, you've got all your limbs and you've never climbed Mount Everest, and you're not an All Black, so how can you possibly be a motivational speaker? That'd be ridiculous." And because that was what the impression of motivational speaker was here in those days. But anyway, I sort of made that as a career and had some great success at that. So and retired really about 5 years ago. I'm 71 now, and I retired when I was 65. And I'll allude more to that retirement in a moment. So so I do the occasional speech now. Slightly different subject, not a motivational speaker anymore, but or not what the world would call a motivational speaker anymore. But I still talk occasionally when a client who I like asks me. When a client who I don't like asks me, I just tell them I retired. I get a bit choosy, bit fussy in my old age.
Okay, fair enough. Like, there gotta be some advantages to getting older.
Absolutely, absolutely right.
So, what a journey. What a journey.
Yeah, it's been fantastic, and we live on the Bombay Hills, on 5 acres down here. Place called Ararimu, which is a lovely, beautiful old village that they're trying to destroy with thousands of houses. And my wife is significantly younger than I am, but she will retire in 2 or 3 years' time, and we'll probably spend half of our life traveling Europe, and the other half here.
Hmm.
But yeah, enjoy what I do, love what I do, and I've become a little bit more practical these days. I physically do a lot. I build furniture and stuff, so that's who I am these days.
Hmm. Hmm. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Not at all.
Um, so given that journey, I'm sure there are some very fascinating stories along the way, and we haven't got hours and hours today. So I'm going to get you to pick a couple of stories, and the stories we're looking for here are again around mental fitness. One side of the coin is when we end up in some not kind of pleasant places, uncomfortable, painful, whatever situation or failure, because we didn't have the mental fitness to deal with the challenge or
Yeah.
challenges that was in front of us. So that's one side of the coin. And the other side of the coin is when we create some amazing achievement and success, not because it was easy, but because we had gained the mental fitness to move through those challenges and still get to that end point that we were aiming for. So I'll let you choose what side of the coin you start on, and I'm sure there are plenty of stories there that you can share with us.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. In the list that I've got down here, I've put failure first, so I think it's probably worth understanding that. But I want to backtrack for a moment. Having studied sports psych for many, many years, I'm extremely familiar with your concept of mental fitness, obviously, and have helped many, many athletes and non-athletes, to be perfectly honest, get over their stress elements and change their mind about certain things. And when somebody is mentally fit, it's very easy to work with them. And when they're not mentally fit, it's a real struggle. In fact, for some of them, it's a serious struggle. And you would think that somebody like myself who has studied this concept for many years wouldn't venture into the dark places
Mm,
because but actually that's not true. We all do. It's in
mm,
fact, the way I look at it is this, is that you don't know you're in a dark place until you're so deep in it that you suddenly realize, oh my God, I've let myself into that position. And that's in 2013. That's what happened to me. I was working quite hard. In fact, I was working bloody hard, far too hard for some stupid reason. My goals were uh, dragging me, constantly trying to improve and grow and change and get better and better and better, despite the fact I was doing extremely well and both financially and in terms of a career. I was quite happy with all of that. But I became really obsessed with creating more and didn't realize what I was doing until I found my sleep was incredibly badly interrupted and I was finding it really difficult to get myself motivated to do anything. And one day, my wife didn't work at that point. She was running the admin for the business, and she came in. I'm a swimmer, right? So what time do swimmers swim? 5 stupid o'clock in the morning, right? So 5:30 in the morning. So normally I'm up and out, but this was about 10 o'clock, and I was still in bed. And she came in and said, "There's obviously something wrong with something's going wrong here. What's the matter?" And I had no idea. And anyway, she took me down to see my friend Peter, who happened to be my GP, and we wandered into Peter's office, and she came in with me, and I said, I'm not really sure why we're here, Peter, but Siobhan wants me to, that's my wife's name, Siobhan. Siobhan wants me to talk to you. And he asked me, I think there were 7 questions. He asked me these 7 questions, and he said, well, I can tell you that technically you have depression. And in fact, yeah, and he said he talked about it being quite serious, as in I need to put a watch on you. I need to think carefully about what you're doing and saying. Not oh, you're a little bit depressed. No, this was Uh, and I actually lost my temper with him. Don't be bloody stupid. I'm a sports. I have a, and then I said, what? Why am I shouting at my friend Peter? Mate, oh shit, maybe he's got a point here.
Ah.
And it was it. I had no idea that I couldn't see the wood for the trees. Whatever the phrase is. I had absolutely no idea I was there, but I was obviously in serious trouble. And I'd made some stupid decisions with the business, but that wasn't the point. I was pushing myself ridiculously hard and had taken a downfall and not noticed what was happening, not seen myself in the decline. And so I had to stand back and do a bit of analysis and look at what was going on and why it was going on. And I turned the businesses off. I had a couple of businesses running. I just went, no, click, turn them off, get yourself right. And I'm very fortunate that I learned a couple of things and studied a few things and got myself in a much stronger position. It took about a year to get myself right. I did try medication, but to be honest, within 2 days, it's like living through cotton wool. I didn't want to live like that, so I ditched the medication, and I'm not advocating that anybody else should do that, but I chose to do that, and then did a lot of, and this is what I do when I'm in a bad place for any reason, physically or mentally. I read a lot about the subject, and so I studied depression. And what's this guy's opinion on it? How does this work? He's suggesting we do that. What do we? And this was 2013, and there were a lot of comments about the concept of mindfulness at the time, which I thought was some fluffy rubbish that my wife did at yoga. Didn't understand what it was. But so much of what I was reading was about learning to calm the mind. Because I had this mind which it was speaking to me faster than I'm speaking to you now, all the time, all the time. And if you'd said to me back then, calm the mind, I wouldn't have had a clue what you were even talking about. But I had to learn how to slow my mind, how to calm it, how to give myself some peace. And so I did. I studied mindfulness and meditation and threw myself wholeheartedly into that and made some fantastic changes in my life because of that. So yeah, very tough times. But when I think the big learning for me is when you're in the dark place, whatever the dark place is, it's very difficult to understand that you're in it.
Hmm.
Very, very difficult.
Hmm. Thank, thank, thank you so much for your openness of sharing
Oh,
that.
no.
And I think there's a lot of people who can relate to it, maybe not to that extreme. But I think it's really important to talk about these things. And,
Yeah,
I ended up
I
in
think.
deep depression as well. And again, the wife was the one, like she didn't drag me to the doctor. She just looked at me and said, you need to sort your shit out or you need to leave. And we had 3 little kids at the time.
Right,
And I also dove into that dark place in slightly different way to what you did because I had done meditation prior to that.
right.
So again, there is no one way, and
No,
again,
no,
thank you
no,
for
no.
pointing out with the medication as well. They have a place, and I chose not to go down that path at all. I said that I know that's not the way through for me. And I came through completely and got rid of depression in my life. So
It's
that's
interesting. I've
what.
been talking to a friend of mine who's in Australia, a therapist, and she was talking about how most she was talking about anxiety, to be perfectly honest, which is actually, if you like, the opposite. But let's not go into the technical side of it. And she said that people don't have depression or anxiety; they do depression and anxiety. That's a wonderful revelation. What a great way of thinking about it. That it's not really a choice, but it's almost a choice. We don't have it, we do it. And I thought that was just a beautiful way of looking at
Mm.
what it's almost sort of you let your mind control you rather than saying, shut up, I want to get on with life, thank you. And
Yeah.
that's what meditation allowed me to do is to
Mm.
say, shut up, I want to get on with my world. I
Mm.
don't need you hindering me.
Mm. I love that distinction, and thank you. That I haven't heard it put exactly that way before, but I really appreciate that. And yes, we do that stuff,
Yeah.
and we could spend hours talking just about that because that's something I'm deeply passionate about.
Well, I think it helps people, if people are in that place, to understand that it's not, you've not changed and become a depressive
Mm.
or some, what you do is you just allow your mind to go down that route. And there is, in a sense, for me, it took quite a lot of practice, but in a sense, what you're doing, what you need to do is make a decision not to go down that route. It's not like you've got, uh, some disease or something. It's just you just allow it. And these days, I do find myself having a conversation with myself and saying, "Hang on, that's a stupid thing to be doing. Don't go down that route anymore." And there's nobody else there. I'm just talking to this thing. And I love the concept that your thoughts are not you. That's just a brilliant, that's a whole thing around mindfulness is that the thoughts that go on are not you. You're the one that's hearing the thoughts. And as soon as you actually click into that and realize that, you can tell the thoughts to, I'm being,
Absolutely.
I was being very rude.
Well, that's the language I use myself at times
Yes. Yeah.
when not so much these days, but back in time when I came to that realization, yes, we're creating our own reality in here,
Yes.
and if we don't like what how our life is showing up, we'll change the reality on the inside first, where most people, including me in the past, would do everything I could to change the circumstances to suit me to be happy, rather than to find the happiness within myself and
Yeah.
then put up with the circumstances that I can't change and change
Absolutely.
those that I can.
And it's such a simple move, and
Mhm.
yet when you're in the dark place,
Mhm.
you cannot see it.
No.
And I've had conversations like this with people who are in the dark pit many, many times. And sometimes the light goes on and they suddenly go, ah, but
Mm.
most of the time people struggle
Yeah.
like, to even comprehend that there is a possibility of not doing what they do.
And
Yeah,
then
that's why I like distinction.
that ties us over to mental fitness again. So I
Yeah.
fall in love with that term. I didn't know it 4 years ago. Um, but I use it all the time now because for me, like that's a solution, for example, to mental health issues. The
Mm,
solution is not mental health. The solution is mental fitness.
yeah.
Just like if you want to be healthy, fitness is a part of that.
Yeah.
So mental fitness is again, it's not a black and white. So it's not like fitness is a scale. It's not like you're fit or you're not fit. Like it's a scale of how fit you are. And mental fitness is the same. So it's not like, oh, I'm mentally fit or no, I'm not mentally fit. It's on a scale. And it might be that when a wife is around, the mental fitness is lower than when you're at work or the other way around
Yeah.
because different circumstances trigger different things. So let's hear a story of, so thank you for that story of you
Okay.
ending up in
Yeah.
that place because the mental fitness wasn't there. and then you build your mental fitness through the reading and diving in and getting support. So tell us a story, the other side of the coin, of where you created and some success because the mental fitness was there. And that story can be 5 days old, 50 years old, or like it can.
Well, this actually happened 6 or 7 years ago. So when I turned 65, the government sends you a piece of paper which says we want to screen you for colon cancer. And the piece of paper says there's a little kit inside. It says, please send us some of your poo. I don't think it uses that language, but so I've always wanted to send politicians some of my poo. So I did. I did immediately. I sent it to them, and I got a phone call about I don't know, a week later saying, "Come and see us." And I was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer,
Wow.
which was whoa, uh, uh, really interesting. Had I been in a dark place at that point, I think I would have probably gone, okay, let go and let life happen to me. And I probably wouldn't have made the same decisions as I made. Anyway, I talked to the surgeon. She was a lovely lady in her late 30s, I suspect. Wonderful woman and a straight talker. And she said, well, we're going to do an operation. It's a big operation. It's 4 hours. And then you're going to have to go through 3 months of chemotherapy. And even after all of that, you might not come through the other side. So she was straight talking like this, lovely, wonderful woman. And I love a straight talker. And she said, if I were you, I'd go home and put your life in order. Go and talk to your wife and your kids and explain the situation and explain that, 4 hours, a 4 hour operation at the age of 65 is not a piece it's not a walk in the park. It's a serious situation. And then chemotherapy can be really bad. So I spent a lot of time over the next couple of days with a very positive approach to it all, saying, right, okay, what am I going to do? Talking to my kids, talking to my wife, and saying, so what's the plan? What are we going to do with this? How are we going to take this forward? And my kids were at that stage sort of 15, 16. So they were strong enough to be able to cope with the news. So we talked as a family about the whole thing. And I said, right, okay, I need to be as fit as I possibly can for when I go into this, because as soon as I've had the operation, I'm not going to be able to get fit. And then I've got 3 months of chemotherapy. And the likely is I'm not going to be able to get off the couch for 3 months because it can be quite debilitating. So I got really fit. The fittest I'd been for probably 10 years. I was swimming a lot and doing a lot of exercise, and that has always really helped my mental fitness, without doubt. A huge amount of exercise. And start again, the same thing happened when I'm faced with these bad places. I do a lot of reading, studying. Uh, so I wasn't studying colon cancer because I didn't really want to know about that, but I was studying um, health and fitness for people in their 60s. That's what I was looking at. And I have to say, a lot of what I was reading was junk. I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but it was not aimed at people like me. It was aimed at one example, and I keep seeing it on the TV now. It's, when you're in your 60s, you need to be fit and healthy. So, and they show a video of people sitting in their armchairs in the old people's home, um, doing, they're sitting down and they're doing this. And to me, I don't know, that's just, okay, if you're 95, sit there and do, yeah, I got that, but not at 60, for goodness sake. You need to put some effort in. So I started, I started looking at it and realized there was a whole area that I'd not even looked at before. This concept of longevity, which is not about living longer, but living healthier for longer. And struck me that the vast majority of people really have no understanding of what physical fitness is. Um, they have no real understanding of what their diet ought to be.
Mm,
Um, they don't really understand how to get their mind to be working as you work with, how to get their mind to be working with them rather than against them.
mm,
And so I was putting all these ideas together while I was waiting for the op to come up. And then when the op happened, I came out of that very positive, very successful I didn't have to have the colostomies or any like, very good because I was extremely fit. Um, and then we had the 3 months of chemotherapy, which I have to say is the worst 3 months of my life. But I couldn't get off the sofa. But what I was able to do was spend that time looking at this concept of longevity. And because I went into the whole thing, I think with a very positive, focused mindset of we're going to come out of this in a better place than we went in.
mm,
Um, and I wasn't battling cancer. That's not the way I saw it. I wasn't fighting the cancer. I was just saying, cancer's here. Let's fix that, but let's get you into the best shape you can possibly be so that if it comes back or it doesn't go away or whatever it is, at least you're going to have a longer period with your family and be healthier. So anyway, it's been about 6 years now, and I've been free of it all for 6 years, but have become extremely well focused on this concept of staying healthy uh, through primarily through exercise,
mm,
but obviously through my diet and also by using some of the mind techniques that I've used over the years as well, which I think are very important. But um, I'm 71 now. I exercise for at least an hour and a half a day
mm,
because I think it's not all swimming. I go down the gym and I do some cycling and I do some walking, race walking, pace walking. Um,
mm,
but it's at least an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours a day, because it powers me up to be able to cope with whatever's coming. The
mm,
cancer's not gone away, fortunately, but I don't necessarily think that my fitness regime has necessarily done anything about that. To be honest, I don't know. But I feel like I'm 40 again. And in terms of, you talk about measurement of physical fitness. There's a thing called VO2 max, which is a runner yourself, you would know about VO2 max. The volume of oxygen that you can extract from the air to be able to power your muscles. And my VO2 max is now at the equivalent to the age of a 40-year-old. So, and and I believe that my health, my future health, if you look at all the stats, anybody with a high VO2 max, and you would have one because it's primarily an interval training, it's a result of interval training. And I'm absolutely sure if you're running marathons, you at some point you do interval training as well. You'll be hills, which is interval training. Um, that has a profound effect on VO2 max, and VO2 max is the best measurement we have of longevity. It's the closest thing you've got. People with a high VO2 max live longer and live healthier for longer.
mm.
So I've come out of it in a much more positive place than I went in. Very, very positive. Very happy about it, actually.
Mm. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. What
Very
a
proud of it. Very proud of what I've done, to be honest.
yeah,
Never
so you
stop
should
talking about it.
so you should be. So you should be. And again it shows the power of the mind.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
like it is truly incredible. You know, my first experience of the power of the mind that was like non-negotiable kind of experience was standing in front of a 3 meter long bed of red glowing coals at about
Oh,
1,000 degrees
firewalk. I've
Celsius.
done I've done a firewalk, yeah.
And I was standing there and I
I
was
know.
like, no freaking way I'm gonna walk on that. My I was burned. The front of my body was burned. The heat was so intense.
No, it's
And,
amazing,
and the
isn't it?
coach just stood there and told you to just stand there and just stand there. And I just stood there and stood there. And then suddenly there was that moment. I'll never
Yeah,
forget it in my life. There was that moment when the mind just go, okay, like stop resisting.
it's
And
like a switch, isn't it? It
yeah,
clicks up. There it is. Bang.
totally,
And
totally, just a total. And at that moment, all the heat was gone. It was a freaky experience because I could not feel any heat at all. Like it was 100% gone. And in
yeah,
that moment, I didn't need to walk over the coals. I could just turned around and walked away. The transformation had taken place. But since
yeah.
the shortest way back to the circle was through the coals, I just strutted through the coals and didn't feel a thing.
No,
I could hear
same
and
with me.
feel like the crunch. It's like walking on popcorn kind of
Yes,
the
fantastic. Well,
rough
I love it.
surface, but no heat.
I've done it many times. Well, probably about 5 or 6 times. Absolutely incredible. You know, the big power for me was after the first time, was the questions I asked myself after walking. You walk across and you think, I've just done the impossible.
Mm,
That's what I've just done is not possible. And then the question comes, what else could you do that you currently think is impossible?
mm,
And that's so powerful, so just amazing. And I really would, if anybody ever gets the chance, go to an event that's organized. You've got the right coach.
mm.
Don't build a bonfire and go and walk across it.
No,
No, go to an event and talk to a coach and get that person to help you. But I would advise everybody to do that because
yeah.
it
Well, so what I used to do it.
you learn that switch, don't you? That
Yeah,
boom. Oh, right, I can do this.
yeah, yeah. When I got so fascinated with it, I became an assistant and walked again and again, and
Yeah.
eventually got certified as a coach.
Oh,
So
wow.
when I came to New Zealand, I actually started teaching fire walking when I came here 32 years, 33 years ago.
Wow.
And it didn't take me long to realize I was not going to be able to make a living out of that. I shifted,
No.
but I kept doing firewalk for courses for a few years after that. I haven't done it for many years now. No, we could keep talking about that as well. We need to move on.
Do you still run them?
No, no, no. I stopped running them
Oh,
probably about 15 or so years ago.
okay. I was just thinking because I'm going on an event coming up soon with high performers um, in the real estate business, and I was just wondering maybe they would like to do one, but I don't know. Anyway, no, it's just
We can, we can have a talk about that off camera.
absolutely, absolutely.
Fascinating stuff. So, yeah, thank you so much for sharing that story. Really, really beautiful story. Um, uh, I would like to get to the next question before we run out of time, and that's that you have actually already answered that, but I was going to give you a chance to add a little bit more or get more specific with tools. So it could be one or two books specifically that stood out to you. It could be a routine you have. You already said about exercise would be another routine you have, or anything else that you learned along the way that grew your mental fitness that you can share with us briefly?
Well, for me, it's reading. It ever since how old would I have been? Probably 21. I've I've read self-help. I don't like the concept of self-help, but I've read books about being able to improve yourself. And I've probably thrown away 200 or 300 of those books, and I have a small diary, a small library of those books up there. These days, I don't read them; I listen to them, and it takes me half an hour to drive to the pool in the morning and half an hour to drive back. So I've got an hour a day of education,
Mm,
and it's my gym is next to the pool, so it's the same thing. So it's literally 5 hours a week I'm studying this stuff.
mm,
And I tend to find people don't use that as a concept. I mean, don't get me wrong, not every book I've read has been helpful. Some of them are written by people who don't really understand what's going on.
Mm,
Funnily enough, I found that true of longevity. An awful lot of people that write or speak or present about longevity are in their 40s. What does a 40-year-old know about being 70?
mm,
I don't, I don't know anything. But um, so you have to sift through and you have to find the books or the CDs or the videos. And again, I watch a lot of videos that shout to you, that speak to you,
mm,
that are important to you. So I've it's not like I love reading because it's just something I've always done. So it's studying these things has been really important to me my entire life. I think every success I've ever had in my life has come down to reading.
mm.
Uh, I mean, the other tool that I would strongly recommend people learn is meditation because I think it gives you much more control over this thing up here. And in difficult times, I still use it today.
Mm,
I don't meditate every day, but if I'm finding myself a little stressed or under the weather or not performing at 100%, I will meditate. It doesn't require me to go and sit in a Buddhist temple. I just do it. I do it on the train. I often, if I'm on the train, I will often meditate when I'm on the train.
mm.
If I'm stuck at traffic lights, I might do 30 seconds of meditation then to just keep myself in peak mental condition, because that's what meditation has done for me.
Mm. And that's again back, thank you for that, back to mental fitness. So there are two broad things there, but completely valuable. So books again, I'm not a great reader, but once audiobooks started coming along and now I subscribe to Audible.
Yeah.
So I get audiobooks every month.
Yeah,
And
me too. Me
again,
too.
whenever you're out driving and that, it's I find that a great way. And as you say, not all books are useful. But if you do enough of them, there will be some that stand out and that really speaks to you. And that's the other thing you said that I really wanna piggyback on is that finding what speaks to you.
Yeah.
And we live very much in a culture where people comes, oh, you need to do this, you need to read this, you need to eat this, you need to do that. And then at that moment, I've already checked out because you don't know what I need. Sometimes I
Exactly
don't
right.
know what I need, but you don't know. Um,
And I find that our culture these days is a lot like that. It's you need to be doing this. No, no, I need to maybe look at doing this,
yeah.
but I don't need. It's interesting because when I speak about this longevity, I think I don't say to people, my ideas are right. I say to them, look, they work for me. This is what I've been doing,
Mm,
and and these are the results I've got. I hope they work for you.
yeah.
They might not.
Yeah.
Maybe swimming isn't the answer. Maybe running's the answer
Yeah.
for you. But it's the mindset of find what works for you. By the way, the other tool I didn't mention, it's not really a tool, it's the absence of a tool. I find social media destroys my mental fitness. I really do. I've deleted I'm not on Facebook. I don't do any of that. I don't do any of that because I used to say I deleted it because it was a waste of time. Actually, I find it really upsetting.
Mm,
I don't watch the news or very little of the news. I watch the sport. That's about it. I try and keep a real control over what enters my head because there's all sorts of crap out there and all sorts of people who don't know what they're talking about. But the louder they shout, the more people take notice of them. So I'm extremely careful about what I watch or don't watch, or what I read and don't read, or what I listen to or don't listen to. And
that's
social media, 99% of social media is rubbish. Please flush it.
yeah.
Great book, by the way. There's one, Why You Should, Larnia. His name is Larnia, I think, and why you should delete all your social media accounts immediately. Fantastic. You've got to read that book. It's a brilliant. No, you haven't got to. You might like to read that book. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Really funny. Good,
The
good guy.
really key what you're saying, John, is again be conscious of what you put into your mind. Because
Absolutely.
if you are not, whatever comes at you enters into your mind. And if that's other people's opinions or rubbish or anger and frustration and hate, then like a lot of the news, it's just I don't watch the news either. That doesn't mean I'm uninformed, but I don't watch traditional news because I don't want that information coming into to my mind. And also thank you for mentioning meditation. Many years ago, about 15 years ago, when I started working with business people and I decided to teach them meditation and say, oh, sit down for half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the evening. And they looked at me like I was completely insane. I said, okay, so 10 minutes? I said, oh, no, no. I said, 5 minutes? Oh, maybe 5 minutes. So then I decided to I actually developed a program that I sold at the time called Modern Meditation. And I invented the term meditation snacking. So I
Yeah,
had to find a
yeah,
way. And what you say, sitting in the train and just doing 30 seconds, that's a meditation snack. So I don't sit on a cushion meditating any longer. I haven't done for many years, but I meditate every day and I
yeah.
meditate throughout the day. So thank you for mentioning that. So to finish up, I would love to hear. So I want to always finish with this question because transformation is fascinating to me. And
Mm.
change is good, but I prefer transformation. So, can you share with us briefly a story of a transformation, whatever transformation means to you in your life, just to maybe inspire some of our listeners to aim more for transformation rather than just change?
Yeah. Well, I would say it's to do with my journey since cancer, the biggest transformation for me. I think I got cancer at 65 and retired and mentally decided to put all my efforts into getting myself healthy. But that has matured over the years. It's not just I think what the transformation that's happened to me is that I've actually changed my view of what being 60 or 70 or even 80 or 90 actually means. Um, it isn't the whole concept of slowing down as we age, I th to me, is wrong. I think we've got to be very careful about what we do. I'm much more careful now. We were talking about mountain biking before we came on air, and I wouldn't throw myself down a mountain the way I used to when I was 30. However, I think what is possible for people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s um, is dramatically more. Certainly for me, my transformation is I really hadn't thought about what my future life could look like. Um, I've always been fit and healthy, but with regards to my age, I'm dramatically more fit and healthy now than I've been, I think, almost ever. I attempted cook straight once. That tells you how fit I was from swimming perspective. But I think I feel healthier now than when I was doing that. That also tells you why I become obsessed with things, which caused the depression. But I think that my transformation over the last 4 or 5 years into the idea of preparing myself for life at this age.
Hmm.
And it's a constant journey. It's a constant movement. I'm constantly looking for what else can I do? What can I change in my thinking processes? What can I change in my mental acuity? What can I change in my physical fitness, in my training methods, in my strength training, in my endurance training, in my VO2 max work? What can I change that actually improves things? I discovered something about 2 weeks ago about this thing called a dead squat. I don't know if you've heard of a dead squat, but it's a physical position you get into. You know, when a squat is when you've got a bar and you sink down, you bend your knees and sink down. Well, a dead squat is when you don't do it with weights, or you can do it with weights, but actually you get down as low as you possibly can. And it's something that 2 or 3 weeks ago I couldn't do. And somebody said I watched a video which talked about how it will, if you learn to be able to do it over a period of time, it will affect a huge amount of your flexibility. It'll get rid of bad backs, and it'll. So I've started doing it, and it's like a revelation. Blimey, this is amazing. It's absolutely incredible.
Mm,
Um, I'm 71 years old, and I've been in fitness all my bloody life, but I've never come across this before. So those transformations, and that's, I think, because I've always had this idea that I can get better. No matter what is happening, I can get better.
mm,
I can do better than I currently am relative to age.
mm. And
I'm never going to break the world record for 100 meters butterfly. I understand that, but I can
that's
do
the
it.
that's the wisdom that might come with old age is what to do and what not to do.
Yeah, yeah. It's
And
not. That's the transformation that I think is.
mm,
And I hope I'm still making those type of transformations when I'm 100 years old.
mm,
I really do. Yeah.
mm,
Because I think, not that I don't care if I live to 100 or not. It's not the goal, but I want to be fit and healthy. I want to be
mm,
fit and healthy all the time. My father was 97 when he died, but the last 10 years of his life, he didn't leave his house
mm.
because he needed help to keep clean and go to the bathroom and stuff. But so I don't want that. I'd rather die at 90 than have 10 years
Mm.
without being healthy. So it's not about living for longer, it's about being healthier for longer. And that's the transformation I think that I've been through in recent times.
Thank you so much. Beautiful story.
Yeah.
And again, showing that transformation is not something that just happened to you when you're in your 20s and you're like it's ongoing and it's the same. It is the
Oh
same
yeah.
for me. And the fact that with your background you could learn something new 3 weeks ago and then put it into place and going, wow, this is amazing. And again, that's it's also happening for me within the field of working with the mind, which is my passion.
Yeah.
Um, there's new things all the time, and again, tying it back to mental fitness, it does actually take a reasonable amount of mental fitness to stay open, to keep
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah.
Because it's so much easier for the mind just to keep doing what it has always been doing. The mind itself is happy just to keep repeating. It's only when we come in and say, no, no, I'm not happy with that. I want to keep growing. I want to keep moving. So
Yeah.
I think this is a very good note to finish on. And I think we could finish with one of your words, longevity, in the way you explain it, that it wasn't about living longer.
Longer.
It is about living well while we're here, because that is definitely the truth for me as well. So thank you so much, John, for coming
Not
on.
at all. Loved it. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
And thank you to our audience for checking in. I hope, or I'm sure there will be something there for you to pick. And there was so many good bits and pieces there. So thank you to all of you for listening in, and have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Mental Fitness, the Gateway to Success. If you have stories of how mental fitness has benefited you that you are happy to share, go to my website, mikael.nz, click on podcast and fill in the guest application form. If you want direct support from me utilizing my 40 years of mental fitness learning and practice, email me at coach@mikael.nz or message me on LinkedIn. Any feedback, review, share, follow, like, or any other good stuff is of course appreciated. Thank you for listening to Mental Fitness, the Gateway to Success podcast. I'm your host, Mikael Nelson.